time.
Yeah. What's up, baby? Come on in.
What's happening, Pimpin'?
Yes, sir. Pimpin'.
What's happening with you, dog? Hey, show enough.
Let's start it off like this. Before we get to the U.S. tour, let's talk about the fact that you are at home, sleeping in your own bed.
Yay.
How does that feel?
Well, with an album name coming home,
Yeah.
it's great to actually be able to come home after an incredible 2 years of an experience. 100 shows sold out in Las Vegas, a Paris residency, and then the Super Bowl, and a host of other things that I'm very happy about, starting with a marriage. You know how this process of creativity and, you know what I'm saying, and what it is to be able to travel the world has, you know, given me this opportunity to share,
Right.
you know, in Las Vegas, what Atlanta's culture is with the world. So now, after that success, to be preparing for past, present, future, really excited about it. But before I did that, had to drop this album that I've been working on for the latter of the last 4 years, of which that sounds a little bit long.
Right.
But there were a lot of stops and starts within that process, but really happy to be able to, as you said, come home
Right.
and be able to sleep in my
That's
bed.
right.
But also to launch this album and now get into the next chapter. This is, you know, my 9th studio album, and now being able to introduce it as an independent artist through Mega, which is, you know, between me and L.A. Reid, I made an entire world return.
Right.
And now coming home, being able to start it all over again. We're going to develop some artists, but we're going to start off by kicking the label off with me in this album coming home.
Let's talk about the plan, because it was a plan.
Yeah.
Staying in Vegas, changing locations. You were in Vegas. You found out that Super Bowl was going to be there, and it was like, I'm not leaving.
Nope.
You kind of, I mean, your team has talked about the fact that, you know, they had no choice. You couldn't have been, like, when the Super Bowl halftime comes on, and you're sitting in that chair. And I've been knowing you since you was knee high to a pregnant aunt. You know, I've never seen a face more ready. Was it because you had done all those shows and you were just, because, I mean, your nickname is Big Time. So this was going to be, you know, second nature to you. How did you feel when it was time to go? Because I know you had the earpiece in, and it was like 3, 2, 1. How did that feel?
I was ready, you know what I'm saying? I had run it a million times in my mind, but nothing was quite like that moment. And let me tell you what was different about that moment between every other show that I've ever had in my life. I was present from the moment it started to the moment it stopped. Most of the time, I'm trying to figure out what's gonna happen. I'm thinking, I run it so many times, and from that moment, I begin to, there's been a couple of moments over the last 2 years that I've actually taken the moment to just celebrate myself.
Right.
And all of the hard work that I put in. But I really was celebrating my legacy. As hard as it was to crunch 30 some odd years into 15 minutes, I did it. But I was celebrating, and I was present, and I really was like, I get a chance to enjoy this one performance. This ain't for y'all. This one's for me.
Yeah.
I get a chance to enjoy this one. It was just almost though it was an out-of-body experience, man. I was literally watching myself.
Right.
I know that sounds crazy.
No, it doesn't.
Makes perfect sense.
But if you spend so much time as an athlete, right, you're on the field. When you finally make it to the Super Bowl,
yeah,
you know you worked all year round to be able to have that one moment. Do you enjoy it, or do you work hard and you're like stressed out?
Right.
I'm gonna enjoy this. I was smiling.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? For 15 minutes, you like trying to be a perfect. I was like, man, I just want to enjoy this moment.
Yeah.
And I did, man. I did.
So I want to take it back. The year, it was August 1994, the first album. And when you looked in the mirror as a young Usher, did you plan this whole thing that we've led up to now, or were you just like, oh yeah, I'm good. I got a song out. What's what we gonna do next?
Nah, there was no next. In my mind, it was a lot of work ahead of me, and I'd watched my family as athletes, and even some as entrepreneurs and integral people take the harder route in life. They work 9-to-5 jobs. They paid their bills, they paid their taxes, and they worked really hard. And something about that dignity made me feel like, okay, I gotta work just as hard at whatever I choose to fall in love with. I'm not gonna be an athlete. My dad was an athlete. I didn't know my dad. My dad was not in my home, so I didn't have him as a reference. But what I did see among all of the people, my uncle, he played for the Kansas City Chiefs as a linebacker. So it was a real celebratory moment too,
Right.
in the Super Bowl. But looking at what they chose in their life, and the fact that I decided that I was going to make this my life's journey, I just saw the work in front of me, and I said, whatever's coming at me, give me whatever you got. I'm gonna work, and I'm gonna just work and be great, and I'm gonna learn, and I'm gonna ask questions, and I'm gonna go around people and surround myself around people who are moving in a positive direction, and try to get what I can to work on my goal. And that was it. It was about the work. It wasn't none of this has been an easy ride. We've been waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning,
Word.
Yeah.
driving all the way out
Word.
to
Still do.
College Park,
Yes.
and sitting out there with you and Ludacris.
Yeah.
We've been
You've been doing this. You've been about this life.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of people don't even know the day that I walked out of what was 97.5 because they wouldn't change it to 107.9. You were my guest on the show that day.
I know that.
And I know you know, but they don't know that. And I remember you walking me to the elevator like, man, don't do this, man. I was like, man, I got to go. As a matter of fact,
How was that
because of
conversation?
that, because it was basically, we was like, they had promised me one thing and said something else, and Usher was a guest. As a matter of fact, that leads me to this next moment. I believe you and JD were tied as being the most guests that I've had on the show. But today, you break the record, so I've come bearing gifts.
Yes. Yeah, one time for that. One time for that. Come on.
So in this box, it is a 14 times platinum hat that has not only all of the songs on it, starting from the very beginning, Confessions, every particular song.
Has to be for me. It's a crown.
It's a crown, baby, plus the skyline.
Yeah, man.
14 times platinum of Confessions, man. And I know you're not a brim all the time guy, but I figured, Amazing Couture did this for you, man. And it's just, you now have the record as the all-time most guest ever on anything Ryan Cameron.
One time.
Why not pick that award up too? While we at it?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Man, so 10 sold out shows at O Arena in London. Then you go to Paris.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel when you know that it's a global, because you brought, the world to Atlanta, but now it's a global perspective of you're going to do this North American tour and then you're going overseas. How many years you going to be doing this? Is it going to be like another 2 years and you can take a break? Because I know I saw you the other day, you popped up on a wakeboard and you was out with the family, you was like pack a bag. Like, how are you planning this? Because you thought you was working.
Yeah, but when it becomes a pleasure,
Yeah.
it's not as much about the work that's there. What I decided to do is sit in markets for longer amounts of time. So not only can I enjoy the space, I can have my family there with me as well. It makes it easier when you're having the conversation with the board, with my older kids.
Right.
And then my youngers, my babies, I get a chance to have them there with me. Residency style just works better for me than hopping from city to city to try to do it. And I think people really enjoy the experience of me being in a town for an amount of time. No two shows are alike. And the purpose and point is to make certain that I can get back to life. And if I decide to, or I dedicate specific days in a week, then I can schedule the rest of my life. Because at this point, being engaged with my children and making certain that they're moving in the right direction is just as much of a priority as my career. And that's what I think is going to work. Now I got to make it work.
Yeah.
The other half of it is history, right? So with 1002s, nobody's ever done that in my genre and in my time. So I guess at this point, I'm just focused on making history and doing things that are historical. To be able to have over 2.4 million people view the Super Bowl, that's another historical moment.
Yeah.
To be able to, have, this 9th studio album that is now my new journey as an independent artist. Nobody's ever done that.
Right.
To play that Super Bowl stage as an independent artist.
Mhm.
So I'm just really focused on history. I'm focused on continuing to make historical moments and marks and viewpoints and set standards and break records. That's what I'm trying to do.
It's Ryan Cameron Uncensored. We got more with Usher Raymond. Y'all make some noise one time.
One time.
And we're back. Usher Raymond here, right here on Ryan Cameron Uncensored, talking about history. Vegas was always a place that people would end their career, right? It would be like, oh, you go see such and such, they'll be in Vegas. And like, oh, man, well, they made it to Vegas. You changed that narrative where people were flying from all over the world. I saw people that, anybody see the Usher show more than one time? Make some noise? Yeah, and back 2 or 3 times.
I got people who got tickets 4 or 5 times and kept coming back, and it was a different experience
each time.
Every time they came.
So how do you feel knowing that you changed what happens in Vegas stayed in Vegas? Because it didn't, because everybody went out and told everybody.
Yeah, part of it was allowing the world to see. In Vegas, most of the time, they don't allow you to have your cameras in the venue.
Right.
But I wanted the world to see, because you got to remember, we were coming out of a pandemic, so I wanted people to see that it was safe, that it was fun, that we were getting back to normal. We'd almost forgot what it was like to be, well, not in Atlanta. We were still out in the
Yeah, we
Right,
never
we was
closed.
outside.
Atlanta
No,
never
no.
closed.
But concerts weren't going
Right.
the way that they were. Although clubs, and we still had social outings, and people were finding bigger spaces to do things.
Right.
To be in a space like that, I wanted people to look at it, and I wanted that to be the social, kind of engagement, because that's how we all now talk to each other. Radio matters more than anything to me, because I get a chance to know the person.
Yeah.
I get a chance to know something about their
Right.
history. I get a chance to know, and you get a chance to engage and hopefully to show the people who are listening that you can invest and should invest in this artist.
Most definitely.
So outside of being able to have those cameras, that was, I guess the thing that did it. But yeah, at one point there was an idea that people would go to Las Vegas and that would be it for them.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Boys to Men who didn't do that, who continued to show their legacy. Shout out to Bruno Mars that went to Las Vegas and stayed in Las Vegas
Right.
at the height of his career to continue to show that Las Vegas is a place that people get something qualitative. I just wanted to add to that narrative, but I wanted to do it my way, and I wanted to do it in a place and a space that people had not seen it. To go to Caesar's Palace and have an immersive experience outside of what my show was, that pushed the envelope. I was attempting to make history. To be able to go to Las Vegas and recognize that at the time I started, there was no union for minorities. You hear what I'm saying?
I hear you.
So the idea that we established a new business and a new funnel for people of color to be able to come there and be recognized and celebrated
Right,
at the level that we should.
More
Not
history.
to say anything bad
Right.
about playing residencies in clubs, because that might work,
Yeah.
right? But to be able to curate a show in the same place that Elton John and Celine Dion and, incredible, legendary artists did and be successful.
Yeah.
And at the same time, give an opportunity for black or black people and minorities to be recognized and
Yeah.
celebrated and brought to a higher standard. That's why I did it. I did it because I understood that there was also, too, an underserved market, a person who had time to spend and money to spend, but I wanted to give you something that would remind all of us what it was to be at a live performance.
Yeah, for sure.
I like that.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
Did
all
you
of
have
that-
any conversations with Steve Wynn before? Because I know that y'all are friends. I mean,
did.
I saw him one time and he was like, I'm trying to get in touch. It was like many, many years ago, and I
did.
called you up. Like, what made you decide did that not go well? Did you ever consider going to the Wynn at all?
Yeah. So there were 3 people that he was considering. There was Beyonce, there was Garth Brooks, and there was me. I went and took the meeting, and we really did have a great conversation. Lovely wife,
Right.
and a lovely man.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was more my mother's idea for me to go to Las Vegas, and this was just at the time that we had just come out of confessions. I just had more living to do, and I wanted to travel the world. I didn't have kids.
Right.
So I was like, I don't want to go to Vegas right now just because I want to experience more of the world.
Right.
I will come back, and when I do, I'm going to break your bank. Because I want you to know that
Believe
I want
it.
to get, I want to let you know that I want to give people an experience that they're going to remember.
Mm-hmm.
I never looked at Las Vegas once I decided and committed to it that this was a place to go and decline or die. I probably would at some point did kind of fear it and say, that's what people think about Las Vegas. But I think somewhere inside of me, even as a kid, I was like, that's not who I am, though.
Right.
That's not how I would view Las Vegas. That's not what I would do in Las Vegas. I would choose to go there, and I would make an experience for people, something that would make people, not only be excited about it, but I would show our culture. I would show where we come from. I would show the history and the things that have inspired me. I would celebrate my records, and I would celebrate our culture. I would bring people from hip hop. I would bring people from the past of R&B, the present of R&B, and allow them to share the stage with me, because it ain't about just being a king.
Right.
It's about building a kingdom. It's about us having something that we can stand on, something that we can continue to build, the same way radio has always been that for us.
Right.
In entertainment, I wanted to be that for all of us. And I wanted us to make certain that we had something to celebrate with dignity, and we would show up, we would put our best on, we would get on that plane. If you dedicated and you flew first class or you flew coach, didn't matter.
Right.
You were going to get a show, and you wanted to dress up, and you wanted to feel beautiful and sexy and fly and go out and enjoy this night with your friends. That's what it was for me, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is Usher Air? I've been hearing a rumor. Why you laughing? I didn't even ask the question yet.
Yeah.
I've been hearing this rumor about Usher Air, the fact that on this global tour, that there's been some, and Delta's my airline, so I'm gonna give him a shout out.
Yeah.
But it's a possibility that it could be Usher Air, like part of this whole tour, because Andrew Young got a picture on the side of the plane. I mean, it would only be right if we. Wouldn't Usher like to have a picture of Usher on the side of the plane if he flies on the Delta jet? Y'all, wouldn't that be a great idea?
And every time he takes off, the music is dun 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 dun. Dun. You're reaching an altitude.
Yeah.
What is that a good idea? What's the word on that? Am I reaching?
No. That sounds like a really, really interesting concept. And when I've looked out of the plane and seen Joseph Laurie's name on the side of it, or either Andrew Young's face at the back of the plane, this really sounds like something that could happen. But man, here's what you should know about me. I'm a storyteller, and I actually want people to have experiences that they will remember.
Right.
And in every medium, not just when you come to an audience or when you come to a venue and are an audience member. I want you to feel like somebody curated an experience from you and thought of the detail. Maybe I am your Usher, but I'm an Usher in a different way this time. So this idea that you're talking about, is something that is probably in talks, but it's all about the experience.
Right.
It's all about, having that experience that makes you feel like something is elevated. And if Delta, as the hub of Atlanta, chooses to wrap their arms around me in that way, that would be pretty dope, right?
Yeah, that'd be dope.
That'd be pretty legacy. That feels like
that'd be
that feels like
historical.
legacy, right?
Yeah, that does for sure.
I'm into that. I'm into making legendary moments and historical things that people will remember.
So
It'll get a lot of jobs too.
That's right.
That's a lot of jobs. So from you to the kids, your dad, from the kids to you, do they understand how famous you are, or do they just be like, that's just my pop show?
I don't know, because we don't have that kind of relationship that's about what we do. It's who we are and how we feel, and I get to parent my children. Sometimes I might get it right. Sometimes I might get it wrong, but I'm the best dad that I can be because I love my boys and I love my little girl.
Are you a girl dad?
I'm a dad, and I love all my children differently.
Right.
It is not a one size fit all. You have to really figure out what they all are individually into. You have to give them their time. You definitely have to make certain that you have time with each child when you're in a house when there's multiple kids. But I'm a young man attempting to figure it out. And sometimes, believe it or not, they may have a better concept about what you should be doing better than you.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you might be parenting them based off of your own fears of what you thought you needed. And maybe if you just took 2 seconds to listen, maybe you hear the answer.
So which one, my son, sometimes he'll do something, and I can't even say nothing back because I'm like, and my grandmother always say, one of these days you're going to be looking in the mirror.
Yep.
And which one of your kids is most like you when you be like, man, that's what I used to do?
Everybody says this, but it sometimes is actually between. There's a close line between Naveed and Cinco.
Yeah.
And probably because they're teenagers now.
Yeah.
They're both teenagers. Give my littles a little bit more time.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll get to the place where I'll be able to say that to them. But it will be a close between Naveed and Cinco.
Has there ever been like an example that sticks out to you, like, man, one time?
Oh yeah, I do the one times all the time, and then that's when they call me a boomer. You know what I'm saying? Like you a boomer, dude. You old. I'm like, what? Man, do these push-ups. Do these pull-ups.
Right.
Let's get in this ring.
Yeah.
You know, but all of that experience is great. I was just backstage talking to Khalifa. I was like, yo, man, you should get in the pool and swim with your son, man. You know, that might be a cool bonding moment. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But you got to find those moments to be able to bond with your kids. And listen, you don't always get it right.
Yeah.
But, none of us are. We're all trying to figure it out.
I came to a Broadway. I saw you on stage. I've seen you in movies. With all of the Usher things that have happened, I'm sure Team Usher has seen some scripts. I'm sure some things have come across your desk. Anything that you have looked at where you feel like, that's something because, you love acting as well. Anything that you're considering?
Yeah. I mean, with the time that I have available, right?
Right.
Right now I'm mono-focused on getting past, present, future
Mm-hmm.
up and off. There are some things that I have in the works. There's a series of narratives that are around Atlanta love, as I call it.
Right.
It was instigated around the idea of listening to confessions and the stories that were in confessions. And as a result of that, I was like, yo, I want to, there's a love story that I have, or a love letter that I have to Atlanta that I want to put into this work. I'm a storyteller at the end of the day.
No doubt.
As an artist, as a creative, as a singer. And I have the same opportunity with the screen and camera. So if I find the right script and then finish the right script and find the right actors, then it becomes a next chapter for me. I told you, man, I'm all about doing things that I feel are going to grow what I've built and become history.
Right.
You know?
You're one of the most inclusive people when it comes to like sharing the light, right? I remember you opened up for Janet. You opened up for Mary J. Blige. Who will be the opening act? Will there be an opening act for the Usher tour?
For past, present, future, there is not yet an opening act.
Will it have features, be people coming out like you did in Vegas, spotlighting certain people depending on the city? Have you thought about it? I'm sure of course you've thought about it. Why I ask you that? Of course you've thought about it.
Yeah. There's going to be surprises everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
There are no two shows alike, and what's beautiful about each market that I'm going into, there's at least 3 shows. At Barclays Center we're playing 5. In Atlanta we're playing 6. So in O2 we're playing 10.
Right.
So there's an opportunity to do something and curate each night to be different. I'm all about the experience. I'm all about bringing you into some experience, immersing you into some experience that makes you feel like you got something that just took your mind off of what you were thinking about and just allowed you to have a good time, rather that is being, in Miami and bringing out, somebody who might be very special to Miami.
Right.
Or being in Atlanta and bringing somebody out who nobody would expect to come out in Atlanta and doing something that would only happen in
Atlanta, right.
Yeah.
So, how excited are you to bring Atlanta to the world? Because Atlanta influences everything, and you going overseas, what is Atlanta? And you're going to give them the exact definition. Like, how excited are you about that?
I love it, man. Everything that I represent has, had the seed of Atlanta at the base of it. If you go to the lowest common denominator of my career, it starts with the belief in this city and the environment, that I was in and the people that I was around.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an honorary member of, the Dudgeon family. It was the first crew that I actually built with to be able to work with Rico Wade and Ray and also to Sleepy and Marquez. So, I'm very happy to see you know, Atlanta be elevated in the way that I think it has always been. That's why you hear me talking about, you know, breakfast at Barney's. And
One time, breakfast at Barney's.
Breakfast at
Shout out
Barney's
to
with-
them.
yeah,
yo.
one time.
Come on, one
Barney's
time.
in the building right now.
Ladies love R&B Wednesdays with Keith and B Cox, you know, and Dave, you know. So having the ability to talk on my music and allow them into the experience that is Atlanta, but elevating it so much so we're going to have a great time tonight. This celebration is obviously about coming home and talking about what that is, but I'm coming home. We're going to go out tonight.
Okay.
We're going to start out at Cascade, and then we're going to make our way over to R&B Wednesdays, where ladies love R&B. We're going to have a celebration tonight, man.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, Kadife. We got to edit that part out, you son of a. Listen, what is the most, you started the New Look Foundation.
Yeah.
You helped so many kids. When you look back on it, what are some of your proudest moments? Because I cannot get off this interview without talking about your give back and your philanthropy, because I think that's very important to you. What are you most proud of? Or some of you, not even one thing, but what are some of the things that you're really proud of with New Look?
With New Look,
Yeah.
Man, to be able to know that, you know, we've been able to help so many young men and women find their passion in life, and then actually watch them pursue it. To be able to watch them now go into the private sector and have jobs at Goldman and Sachs. Be able to, you know, see them create, you know, businesses and become entrepreneurs, and those businesses thrives. To see them, you know, have a track of success that now has led to a very healthy life, finding incredible partners, being married, you know, having, first and foremost, go through our program, graduate from high school, some
Right.
choose to go to college, or either pick up, you know,
A trade.
Yeah, a trade, or either have an internship at a business. That is the greatest thing that I get out of it. And more than anything, to see that it's still sustaining 20 years later. That's the gift
Right.
that I get to know that it's still going. And rather it had Usher's New Look associated with it, or it was just New Look,
Right.
to me says that I did something that helped a lot of people.
Yeah.
And at least, you know, gave motivation that could lead to somebody else being motivated.
Well, we want to say, man, we appreciate the time. You
Yes.
know, going back to, and I say this to anybody, somebody at your level who is on the hottest entertainer in the game right now, for you to still come back and do radio, you know, speaks volumes for not only your character, but the fact that you get it. And I just want to say, you know, officially, we appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.
I appreciate you too. And I appreciate everybody, you know, who has had anything to do with this. This is, you know, different than just doing radio. This is Atlanta radio.
Yes, sir.
So it's got a different hit to it. You know what I'm saying? It's got a, you know, we are, and we have always had each other. I'm telling you, this is not a news story right here. I'm telling you, we woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning.
That's right.
And I had to get my butt across town. You know, I was on Indian Trail out in Duluth, and then had to make
Oh,
my way
wow.
all the way over to
College Park
to be there and celebrate you, and also to be there to be a part of your history. And in turn, you've done the same. So I thank you. I thank you for not only, you know, doing this moment and being able to shine a light on coming home, but I'm happy that I can come home to open arms. Many times, even in the Bible, right, it talks about, you know, are you loved in your home city? You know, that's not a traditional thing, but in this sense, I feel that love. I feel like I'm at home. So that same love I offer to the entire world. I was born in Dallas, you know, raised in Chattanooga, Tennessee, but I became who I am as a man, as an entertainer, as an offerer of greatness and belief in self, and also to the things, rather philanthropic or just business or entrepreneurship in Atlanta. So I share that with the rest of the world, and I appreciate y'all.
Usher Raymond.
One
Give it up
time.
for him one time. Big time.